Happy New Year! 2023 is almost finished. We just got a few hours left here on the East Coast. I know that you have a longer year, technically, on the West Coast. Not really, it started later on the West Coast, right? 3 hours behind. The 49ers will be probably on the plane around the time the New Year hits. Maybe not, I guess. I guess that since they're gaining the time going back home, they might be able to land down at SFO before the clock strikes midnight. They have beaten the Washington Commanders on this field 27-10, and the 49ers are also officially the NFC's number one seed. The path to the Super Bowl goes through Levi's Stadium on the NFC side. Rather shocking turn of events this weekend. We didn't expect it to happen this weekend because three things had to happen. The 49ers had to win on this field. On top of that, the Detroit Lions had to lose to the Dallas Cowboys. It might have taken some help from the officials to make that occur. And then the Philadelphia Eagles had to lose at home to the Arizona Cardinals. All three of those things happened. If you had the parlay for those three, you probably won some money. The 49ers have won themselves a hell of a path to the Super Bowl. It's so much easier if you're the one seed versus anything else. Because even as the 2 seed, which the 49ers had last year, you have to play on wild card weekend. So it adds another game, another chance for guys to get hurt, another chance to trip up as a football team. You don't get that rest. Now the 49ers essentially have 2 open weeks of rest, or 3 weeks of it. They don't have to play again in a meaningful game for 3 weeks. So what happened today here and across the NFL is a huge deal. The last time the 49ers were the number one seed, they blew out 2 opponents at home, the Minnesota Vikings and the Green Bay Packers, on their way to the Super Bowl. That was the 2019 season, early 2020 playoffs. So the 1 seed is the way to go. It's something the 49ers have striven to get in the past. They couldn't quite do it in 2022. They ended up falling to the Eagles on the road in the NFC Championship game. Fittingly, ironically, whichever word you want to apply to the situation, it was the Eagles who choked today at home against the Arizona Cardinals, but I think the Eagles have been bleeding out all month. It was the 49ers who inflicted the original damage with their blowout victory, the touchdowns on 6 straight drives in Philadelphia. Interestingly, that was, part of 2 East Coast road trips, right? The 49ers have bookended this run to the number 1 seed and the clinching of it with East Coast road trips. At the start of December, they were back east in Philadelphia. They broke Philadelphia in that game. They broke the Eagles' spirit. They broke their propensity to, maybe they broke their confidence, and that hurt their propensity to win these close games in early December. 49ers return 5 more wins later, plus the loss against the Ravens later. They return to the East Coast here to FedEx Field in Landover, Maryland. That's why the video is called Lombardi Leaves Landover. They finished the job here against the Washington Commanders. Brock Purdy will finish this 2023 regular season as one of the most efficient passers that we've ever seen. And I understand that the 49ers lost to the Ravens this past week, and that Lamar Jackson, I think, had another big game today against the Miami Dolphins. And it seems to be a what have you done for me lately kind of award. So he's probably going to have that bias working in his effect when it comes to the AP's voting. But Brock Purdy certainly deserves major consideration for the MVP award, because I don't think that statistically we've seen a quarterback as good as Brock Purdy has been this year not win the MVP award. But I think that is just a precursor to my main point. And Christian McCaffrey today said that Brock Purdy is the MVP of the league, hands down. But then he went on to say that, we don't really care about individual awards in this locker room. And that is the beauty of this 49ers operation. They just became the first team in NFL history, the first team ever, to have a 2 wide receivers, a running back, and a tight end all break the 1,000 yards from scrimmage mark. So they have 2 receivers, Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk, over 1,000 yards from scrimmage. They have a running back, Christian McCaffrey, over 1,000 yards from scrimmage. In fact, Christian McCaffrey surpassed 2,000 yards from scrimmage today. And they have a tight end in George Kittle, over 1,000 yards from scrimmage. Kittle eclipsed that mark today, and that was his third 1,000-yard receiving season. No team in NFL history has done what the 49ers have done offensively this year as far as explosiveness and spreading the football around. And guess what? They did it in 16 games. It didn't take the 17th game, so you can't even put an asterisk behind it. The fact that the 49ers have spread the wealth so efficiently and so explosively is obviously a big credit to Brock Purdy himself, but it's also a credit to the team-oriented nature of how this offense works. And that was the point that Christian McCaffrey made. You can talk until you're blue in the face about the MVP and these other individual awards, but the truth of the matter is that everyone in this 49ers offense benefits everyone else. It's a symbiotic relationship. There are reciprocal benefits to it. And when that happens, you realize that this is just a team sport, and the 49ers are executing this team sport at about as high of a level as you possibly can. Have there been setbacks along the way? Sure. But this team is now 12-4, and they've locked up the number 1 seed with a week still left to play in the regular season. And that is absolutely remarkable, considering the fact that in late November, the 49ers were considered by some to be long shots to even have a shot at that number 1 seed. But now they have it wrapped up, and they can rest against the Rams, or at least rest some of their stars, including Christian McCaffrey, who has a minor, quote-unquote minor, that's what he said today, that was his description of it, a minor calf injury. Doesn't have to play against the Rams, doesn't have to play the wild card weekend because the 49ers have a bye. 3 weeks from now is when the 49ers are probably going to take the field next with their full squad. So the bye week, this number 1 seed, is big news for guys like Eric Armstead. On the offensive side, for Aaron Banks. Aaron Banks obviously is dealing with a turf toe. He didn't play today, although he was active for this game, so you want to give him as much time as possible to recover. McCaffrey, of course, there are probably bruises and injuries on this 49ers team that we don't even know about, but they'll have a chance to lick their wounds and recuperate. Remember that the best, most swarming 49ers defense of this season has come after rest. So week 1 through 5, right, the Pittsburgh to the Dallas games at the start of the season when everybody was fresh, this defense was on a different level, right? Then they got a bit tired. They missed a lot of tackles from week 6 to 8. Then they had a bye week again after a bye off season, and they showed up against Jacksonville, and coming out of that bye week, following that Jacksonville game, swarming again, not missing tackles. Then they got a little bit more tired, and they missed a few tackles over 3 weeks. I know that they've rallied a bit to do better now, but there were some missed tackles today against Washington. But the point is that every single time this 49ers defense has had some extra rest, they've been awesome, and that's when this team has played its best football. So with this number 1 seed, they've earned that shot, and they've not just a shot at extra rest. They have the extra rest now. They will be guaranteed that extra rest heading into the postseason. And that's huge. And they've done it again based on a historically efficient offense across the board, the first in NFL history to have those 4 players at different positions cross 1,000 all-purpose yards. That's a credit not only to Brock Purdy, not only to those players individually that have broken those marks, but to the entire offense and the selflessness of this team. Today, the defense also contributed for the 49ers. There was some crazy hand-wringing during the game. Oh, the defense is worrying me. They gave up 10 points. Giving up 10 points in the NFL 99% of the time is going to win you the game. That's really good in this modern offensive-driven league. Charvarius Ward, all-pro Charvarius Ward. You could probably start calling him that. He is impressive. Another interception for Charvarius Ward. This one came at a point in the game when it wasn't yet decided. The 49ers were up by 10, and the place behind me absolutely roared. I know that Ward was down when he caught the ball, but people didn't realize that yet, and there were probably 70-80% 49ers fans here in D.C., and they were going nuts as Ward was streaking down the sideline, returned it a good 80 to 85 yards, and you really heard what the 49ers fan base on the road can do. They broke a record this year, 49ers fans did. On average, they filled up 48% of opposing stadiums across all of their road games. And there will be no more true road game for the 49ers because the Super Bowl is a neutral site game. 48%, so about half of visiting stadiums were filled by 49ers fans this year. That's according to Vivid Seats. And Vivid Seats actually projected that there'd be 48% 49ers fans at this game today in Washington, I think the number was higher than that. I could post a video that a friend sent me in a little bit of the Charvarius Ward interception and how loud it was. It was crazy. It really, really did feel that this was a 49ers home game, even though I'm sitting here in the state of Maryland. I'm sitting here a good 5.5 to 6 hour flight away from the Bay Area. Those of you just joining, Christian McCaffrey injury does not seem serious. The 49ers think he'll be all right, but boy, are they thrilled that they broke the Eagles in early December and earned that number 1 seed today with the Eagles lost to the Arizona Cardinals coupled with the win here, because that essentially gives them a 3-week window to rest Christian McCaffrey. They have a long window to rest Eric Armstead with his plantar fasciitis. They have a long window to rest Aaron Banks with his turf toe. The 49ers can get guys back and they can be fully healthy entering the postseason. And as we've already seen, this is the best roster in the NFL when it is healthy. So the path for the 49ers right now, the path for the 49ers is clear to the Super Bowl. All they have to do is win 2 home games. That was the goal at the start of the regular season. They have accomplished that goal. Yes, Sebastian Joseph Day did play today. I thought the 49ers run defense was pretty good today. What was excellent was the complementary style in which the 49ers played, though, because they did give up a little bit of yardage on the ground and even through the air to this Washington team. I'm looking at the final totals. 14 carries, 62 yards for Washington. But that's 4.4 per carry. But again, the raw number there is not very high, 62 yards. 14 carries is low too. That is a testament to the 49ers coming out here and playing ball control. And that goes back to Brock Purdy and the offense. The 49ers said, hey, we're on a short week. Playing defense on a short week is extra hard because your guys are tired. And you want to possess the football. You want to play keep away. So the 49ers made sure to possess the football 38 minutes. They moved the chains. They ground some clock with their own run game, with Purdy's efficiency in the pass game. And they ended up putting their defense on the field only 21 minutes of this football game. So the idea that the 49ers defense was somehow deficient today is completely stupid. That's one of those ideas that does not match with reality. The defense was fine. They gave up only 10 points. They gave up only 62 yards on the ground. They intercepted Sam Howell twice in this game, once for Charvarius Ward, once for Deommodore Lenoir. The 49ers have a chance to finish this season as number 1 in the NFL in defensive takeaways. Everything about this defense screams top 5 unit, and everything about this defense has a chance to be the best unit in football if it plays games rested. And they're going to have a chance to play the entire postseason rested because they earned the bye. They earned the number 1 seed today. Anybody who thinks that giving up a few yards on the ground means that the defense played poorly just does not have any idea or any perspective of what's going on across the whole league. It's an offensive-oriented league. If you give up only 10 points, you've had a good game, period, defensively. And the numbers are good for the 49ers defense today as well. At the end of the day, I think it's really time to appreciate what these 49ers are doing. They're winning all of these games. Every single one of their wins this year came by double digits, with the exception of the Week 2 game against the Rams, which came by 7 after the Rams kicked the field goal at the final buzzer. That's stuff that doesn't happen at the NFL level, or it shouldn't happen at an NFL level. This is a hard-capped league. Teams should be more or less even, yet the 49ers are blowing opponents out on a week-by-week basis. You have to be excellent offensively and at least very good defensively to do that, and that's what we saw today from the 49ers. Speaking of offensive excellence, how about Brock Purdy? 22 of 28, 230 yards, a pair of touchdowns, a 124.7 rating. He's going to be, by a mile, the efficiency leader in the NFL today, and I thought the off-schedule throw to Brandon Ayuk was truly special. It looked like Washington was going to close in on him in that pocket. Purdy spun away twice, sprinted to his left. And that's the greatness of Brock Purdy, is his ability to see the field even while there's chaos around him. And his throw to Brandon Ayuk might have been a throw to an open receiver, but that receiver's not open unless Brock Purdy, A, escapes with his remarkable quickness. I mean, athleticism is off the charts for Brock Purdy in short spaces. And Ayuk is not open unless Purdy directs him there and sees him while he's moving. The ability to move the way that Brock Purdy does while simultaneously scanning the field and directing traffic before unleashing an accurate pass, that's a skill set combination that very, very few quarterbacks in this league have. Mahomes might have it, right? Lamar Jackson might have it. Josh Allen, to a degree, has it, but Josh Allen has been shooting himself in the foot this year. I think he went 3 of 15 in the first half this year. 3 of 15 in the first half this week. You could list the elite quarterbacks in this game, and you could toss Brock Purdy right in there with them because the results speak for themselves. And when you watch the tape and you see a play like the one to Brandon Ayuk, or you see the deep pass that he just threw on a dime to Brandon Ayuk a little bit before that, your jaw drops. He's doing stuff that the elite quarterbacks do. Why is he doing stuff that the elite quarterbacks do? Because Brock Purdy himself is an elite quarterback. He's very deserving of the Most Valuable Player award. Whether or not he wins it, to the 49ers locker room doesn't really matter. They love the collective identity that they have going on here because they know that the collective identity, it's what's going to lead them to the best Super Bowl winning chances. And at the end of the day, if you win the Super Bowl and you're the quarterback and you play a good game there, you win the Super Bowl MVP award. And that means even more than the NFL regular season MVP award. So we'll wait to see what happens on that front. But the 49ers just maximized their chances today based on what they could have done in the regular season by winning this game and then letting Arizona help them to secure the number 1 seed in the NFC. Elijah Mitchell, that was big today. Christian McCaffrey, minor calf injury. He, after he went out, it was Elijah Mitchell that put up some big numbers for the 49ers. I have it right here. 17 carries, 80 yards. That's a big workload for Elijah Mitchell. Remember, he was last really, really productive in 2021 when the 49ers went on their playoff run. That was Mitchell and Deebo Samuel had to fill in there because Mitchell was dealing with some injury issues. The fact that Mitchell is healthy now and has now worked up to build up the callus of 17 carries. Not easy to carry 17 times in an NFL game. The fact that all that has happened gives the 49ers a great 1-2 punch, a great weathered 1-2 punch entering the playoffs. McCaffrey's going to be okay by every single count that we heard today, 3 weeks from now when the 49ers need him again in the divisional round of the playoffs at Levi Stadium. Elijah Mitchell is going to be a good number 2 at 17 carries and 80 yards, like hard running behind him. Obviously, Jordan Mason will be available for the 49ers as well. First drive of this game, I also thought it was notable that the 49ers have gone to Kyle Juszczyk twice in 2 weeks on the first possession. When you make NFL history like the 49ers have with the production of all their A-list weapons, from Ayuk to Samuel to McCaffrey to Kittle, you do want to continue the evolution of the offense as the chess match of the season goes on. So what did Kyle Shanahan do last week? He threw a slant to Kyle Juszczyk on the first possession of the game. Should have been pass interference against the Ravens. It wasn't called. What did he do today? He threw a deep pass to Kyle Juszczyk, and Brock Purdy threw a dime. Juszczyk unfortunately dropped it, but it's still on tape. Now teams that have to face the 49ers in the playoffs will look at the tape of these past 2 games and see that Brock Purdy went to Kyle Juszczyk, his fullback, as an early read on both of the first 2 drives. And when that's on tape, and you also have Brandon Ayuk, you also have Christian McCaffrey, you also have George Kittle, you also have Deebo Samuel in the offense, that's called torturing opposing defensive coordinators. So you always have to evolve, and the 49ers have so many weapons that you would think that they might rest on their laurels a little bit play calling wise, just because, if Brock Purdy runs into the right play call and he makes the right decision, somebody's probably going to be open. Well, why not push the envelope even more and involve Kyle Juszczyk in the pass game? I thought that might have been the most significant 49ers offensive development of today. They also got decent pass protection up front from John Feliciano and Spencer Burford at right guard. The one big pressure that Burford led up was on the Brock Purdy off-schedule play. So that was a great example of Brock Purdy taking a pass protection error spinning it around into an off-schedule touchdown. It's something that he's done since his first start as a 49er. Remember against Tampa Bay last year when he sidestepped the pass rush, found Deebo Samuel downfield. Remember against the Seahawks in the playoffs last year when Brock Purdy executed the Houdini act, scrambled over to the sideline, fired the bullet that unfortunately Ayuk dropped. It is part of Brock Purdy's DNA to do elite things in the off-schedule game as a quarterback. He is great in the intermediate game. He's been the most efficient quarterback in NFL history in the intermediate game. He's solid in the short game. But what really sets Brock Purdy apart and makes him part of this elite cluster of quarterbacks at the top of the NFL is his ability to deliver in the off-schedule game. Kyle Shanahan has long talked about wanting to have a quarterback that can give him the mobility to break the pocket if it's needed. And Brock Purdy is breaking the pocket. Even today on plays that didn't end up in the Ayuk touchdown, Brock Purdy delivered in a big way to save the 49ers from negative plays and sacks. And in a game where you're trying to shield your defense by possessing the ball as long as possible, avoiding sacks is huge. The 49ers held the ball for over 38 minutes today. Brock Purdy was a really big part of that. On top of everything, Brock Purdy is now the 49ers single-season record holder for passing yards. And that's a huge, huge deal. He's got 4,180 pass yards. He entered the day as number 3 behind 1998 Steve Young and 2000 Jeff Garcia. Purdy now has that lead. It took his very last pass of the day to get it. He has it by 2 or 3 yards. He might not play next week against the Rams since the Rams have clinched a playoff spot and the 49ers have clinched the 1 seed. So in 16 games, the same length of time that Steve Young and Jeff Garcia had to reach their marks, Brock Purdy has thrown for more yards in a single season than any quarterback in 49ers history. Joe Montana didn't throw for as many yards as Brock Purdy has thrown this year. Steve Young didn't throw for as many yards as Brock Purdy has this year. Jeff Garcia didn't throw for as many yards as Brock Purdy did this year. Even Jimmy Garoppolo in 2019 with, 3,900 yards? That was a good year for Jimmy Garoppolo. Didn't throw for as many yards as Brock Purdy did this year. So that puts it into, I think, a real kind of historical context. I think that given the rich tradition of the quarterback position in this organization, the fact that Brock Purdy now owns that record is absolutely significant. And he doesn't break that record over these 16 games if he doesn't deliver the type of off-schedule mastery that has made him an elite quarterback this season. So Purdy's in the 49ers history book. This offense is in the 49ers history book. Again, this offense becomes the first in NFL history to have a running back over 1,000 yards from scrimmage, 2 receivers over 1,000 yards from scrimmage, and a tight end over 1,000 yards from scrimmage. McCaffrey, Ayuk, Samuel, and George Kittle all get the job done for the 49ers. And guess who's running point of that offense? It is Brock Purdy, who is a very, very strong candidate to be the NFL's MVP. But what matters more is the Super Bowl MVP. And the 49ers now have a clear path to that Super Bowl. All they have to do is win 2 games at Levi Stadium since they're the number 1 seed. They get credit for it because they did what it took over the course of this entire regular season. Starting in Pittsburgh, winning 5 straight, dominating essentially in 5 straight games, rebounding from that losing streak in week 6 to 8 to come out of the bye with a massive 34-3 win against Jacksonville. There was a 6-game win streak coming out of the bye. Remember, the 49ers fixed their defense with rest and with some coverage alignments. They hit their stride under Steve Wilks. Then, they threw up all over themselves against Baltimore. But it happens at the NFL level. And the reason that you want to stack wins when things are going good is because sometimes a fluky game will go against you. And Baltimore's really damn good, too. That might be a Super Bowl preview. So after losing to Baltimore, the 49ers came out here to Washington, took care of business. And because of that, because one of their wins broke Philadelphia in early December, the 49ers now have the NFC's number 1 seed locked up. So they've done their job in the regular season. They can play next week conservatively. They can't rest everybody because you don't have enough players depth-wise to be able to do that. But we'll probably get a look at Sam Darnold. We definitely won't get a look at Christian McCaffrey. 49ers can rest. It'll be fun to see some of the young players in bigger roles. Then the 49ers can sit back over the bye week and watch other teams go at it. They'll learn their opponent over the course of the bye week. And then they will move on into the divisional round of the playoffs. So they're going to try to make a run at the Super Bowl. There's a good chance, I think, that Baltimore comes out of the other side of the bracket. 49ers want to fly to Las Vegas by the time this is all said and done. And if they do, maybe they're going to have a chance to beat the Baltimore Ravens. But that's so far ahead right now. Right now, we're talking 49ers beating the Commanders 27-10. We're talking the Eagles losing, 49ers accomplishing what they set out to do, making NFL history offensively, setting Charvarius Ward up to be an all-pro at the cornerback position, delivering the takeaways they needed to deliver, a commanding win on the East Coast to close out the calendar year of 2023. All right, my article on Brock Purdy from the locker room is out. The 49ers were going crazy in there watching Philadelphia lose to the Arizona Cardinals. So check it out. I'm going to toss the link to the article into the description of this piece. This is Lombardi leaves the stadium. Lombardi leaves Landover. If you guys want to see Landover, Maryland, and this stadium, let's take a look. They're cleaning up, and I am about to say goodbye. Happy New Year to everybody. Enjoy tonight. We will see you tomorrow and beyond. 49ers win. 49ers are the #1 seed. So long from the East Coast.